This was originally more of a dual Icar request, however I do not have the Incarnon for dual Icar, so I decided to do it on the Lesion instead, because I think it actually fits it a little bit better. It was a request for a fairly popular build that utilizes gas and magnetic together with melee vortex, sometimes referred to as the fart chamber build. Now, since gas is one of those elements where its damage over time actually utilizes the amount of gas damage you have on the weapon, unlike something like Slash, which only cares about base damage, you want a weapon that can stack a lot of it. This is where the Lesion comes in. Also, look at it, Nom. So cute.
An instrument of unrelenting harm. If Lesion tastes blood, it becomes invigorated with faster attack speed and increased toxin damage.
That is precisely what we want for this. But anyway, Mastery rank 9, it does primarily slash damage with mediocre crit chance, 15% crit, 2 times crit multi, meh, but the status chance is very good at 37%. Now, while you can get the blueprint for the Lesion from the market, it is a pain to build because it requires a Tipedo fully built, which itself requires a bow and a kunai. So the best thing you can do here is to get the bow and kunai, max them out for the mastery, turn them into the Tipedo, max that out for the mastery, and then turn the Tipedo into the Lesion. But anyway, let's give the fart chamber build on the Lesion a shot and see if it's any good, shall we? The reason the Lesion is really good for builds like this is the Frenzy trait. This gives you 15% attack speed and 100% bonus toxin damage for 6 seconds whenever you proc any status. And since the weapon has a 37% status chance, this is going to be up at all times. This is important because gas is one of those elements that actually calculates the amount of damage you have on the weapon into its damage over time, unlike something like Slash, which doesn't. The Arcane is of course going to be melee vortex. I have it 1 rank from the top, but it's a 5% chance, so it doesn't really matter. Shimmering Blight for the stance. You can use Bleeding Willow or Twirling Spire if you want to. I think Magnetic Rush is going to be absolutely perfect because it gives us just enough magnetic damage to trigger Vortex, but we get 20% attack speed here, 15% there, so we actually have 35% attack speed with just Magnetic Rush. And I think that's going to be more than enough, and this then allows us to have plenty of mod space to just scale a bunch of damage. We're gonna go pure elemental, so Primed Fever Strike and Molten Impact just to get as much, where is it? There it is, just to get as much gas damage as possible. So these two combined with the Frenzy trait are gonna give us a ridiculous amount of gas. Hopefully not too much, so we actually proc some magnetic. Condi Overload is a bit of a no-brainer here, and I don't think we're gonna go crit because like the crit isn't particularly good, so I would rather use it on something else, like I don't know, Prime Reach for example. But hey, another massive multiplier to our status damage, Galvanized Elementalist. I think we're gonna go Boreal's Contempt just for more damage and status, together with like Elementalist and Condi Overload. I think this is gonna be the play, because like I would rather full ass, like straight up double cheek the status damage than half ass crit. First things first though, we're gonna need more Forma. We're gonna need more Forma eventually, but for the time being, let's just run Weeping Wounds. Pretty good actually. You have to bear in mind, like, there's no armor strip, we're missing a mod, no Tennokai. Oh, here comes the Vortex. This is why it's called the Fart Chamber build. You pull them together and then, you know, they fart all over each other with the gas clouds and all that, which does a lot of damage because the damage from the clouds overlaps. The problem with this build, as you can see over here, is single target, because when you have one enemy, you have no overlapping gas cloud, so the damage is pretty meh, but I think we can fix that with Tennokai. I'm leaning towards Discipline's Merit for the guaranteed Tennokai every 4 hits, which I think on this build is going to be better than something like Opportunity's Reach, which is completely random, so to fix the single target, I think Discipline's Merit is the way to go. We could actually drop Magnetic completely and just rely on Harold, together with like the heat for the armor strip and the vital and all that, but I don't think we're gonna do that. And whoop! Yep, I think the Fart Chamber is officially online. Very good. Very good so far. It's kind of luck based a little bit. Like, it does more than enough damage as it is, but like the best thing that can happen with this is you trigger Vortex and Tennokai at the same time, so you can just fling it into the Vortex for massive damage. We're still missing a reasonably big mod, by the way, but it's already clearing very nicely. I think dropping crit to just make it feel better and focus more on status has worked out fabulously here. It's so cool to finally have enough mods to just like go either way, because back in the day when we had like half the mods for everything, you would just like, if a weapon didn't have good status or good crit, you were kind of just like SOL when it came to modding. It was just like, oh, I scaled all the status I can, and like, now what? Same thing with crit, though to a lesser extent, because with crit you could at least go big damage so that you had something to multiply with the crit. And a bonk. See, this is why we have Tennokai, so we actually have some singles. Actually, Very good single target damage, very nice. We're gonna need one more format for the Tennokai, but I wanna try Boreos Contempt just to see if it makes a big difference or not. I wanted to compare Boreos Contempt to Tennokai, and then I jump into a completely different mission with completely different enemies at a completely different level. I'm such a dullard sometimes. It's working pretty well though. It's of course not gonna have as much impact as that in Tennokai because 12x heavies are big and chunky, but it feels pretty good so far. Single target is worse. It's not bad though. Okay, final formage time. Discipline's Merit goes back in. If you want maximum damage, by the way, run a not Bane mod. What is it? Smite mod? Smite mod. Run a Smite mod instead. I don't like Smite mods. I like to just have one build that I use for everything, but Smite mods or even Primed Smite mods are going to be way better than Boreos Contempt because it's another multiplier. Boreos Contempt, it's the same multiplier as Melementalist and Condition Overload. Smite mods are not. Get stabbed, idiot. Absolutely fantabulous. This is kind of what I was hoping for. Oh, that right there was perfect. Just the vortex into the heavy. That's what you want. That right there. As I was saying, it is fantabulous. The damage is great. Single target is actually very decent with Tennokai. The only thing is, like, the attack speed 35% is okay, but if you can, I would highly recommend either Warcry or Arcane Strike. It's not a deal breaker or anything, especially with gas because, you know, that cap's at 10, so you don't need to hit the enemy like 20 times. But I think it would feel a lot better just moving around and just the fluidity of the combos if the attack speed was a bit higher. Yeah, I think this is pretty much it. Once again, you could go with the Smite mod for more focused damage, but I think this is as good as it gets. So let's go wrap it up. Well, you go wrap it up with Mr. Editor Man. I'll stay here until it's rank 20. So, here's the final Fart Chamber build for the Lesion, and it turns out it's pretty great. For the stance we have Shimmering Blight, but you can use any of the stances, it's mostly personal preference. For our Tennokai trigger, we have Discipline's Merit, and while you can use different ones, Discipline's Merit works really well because these kinds of builds generally don't have particularly good single targets, so having a reliable source of Tennokai procs is very, very good. For our mods, we have Condition Overload for base damage, Primed Reach for range, Weeping Wounds to scale our status, then either Boreos Contempt for base damage and status damage if you want a generic build versus all the factions, or a Smite mod or a Primed Smite mod if you want maximum damage. Then we have Magnetic Rush for magnetic damage and attack speed, Galvanized Melementalist for status damage and status chance, and we top it off with Molten Impact and Primed Fever Strike for a truck ton of gas damage. The arcane of choice here is Melee Vortex. It's one of the reasons why we run Magnetic Rush. It just works really well with this kind of build because it allows you to group enemies together without any Warframe abilities and absolutely demolish them with the overlapping gas clouds. And I would also highly recommend a solid priming pet. I use a Hound Good Boy Harrow that primes Cold with its Coolant Leak and then Radiation, Impact, Puncture, Heat, Magnetic and Vital with its Butt Toe 10. This will add a lot of damage through Condition Overload, and it will also help you to strip some armor if you have Heat or increase the health damage taken if you have Vital and stuff like that. You could even completely forego Magnetic on the weapon and just rely on the Magnetic from your priming pet. Vortex doesn't care where the Magnetic comes from. It may not be the requested dual acre, but I still think the Lesion is one of the best when it comes to Fart Chamber builds. The base damage, the unique trade, the high status, all of that just works really well here. So yes, I would absolutely recommend you give this a shot. It's really good, and you can even try it on other weapons. It works on pretty much everything, though generally, as mentioned in the beginning, weapons that either have innate gas, heat, or toxin work better because you can just stack more gas. And that is pretty much all I have for you today, so I thank you very much for watching, as always guys, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Additionally, I would like to extend a special thank you to all the channel members. Thank you very much guys, I really appreciate your support, it means a lot to me. And I'll see you next time, bye bye.